Hello and welcome to the Switchrpg podcast. I am one of your hosts, Gio, and I'm joined by just Johnny. Johnny, how's it going?
It's going good.
It's going good. Excellent. If this is your first time listening to the show from Switchrpg.com, where we bring you the latest in the world of RPGs on the Nintendo Switch. This week, we're discussing our Switch RPG Game of the Year, and also maybe some Switch RPG New Year's resolutions. A little light on the news today, but you know we'll get through this. It's been a light year for RPGs anyway. So yeah. Anyway, what have you been playing, Johnny?
What I've been playing? I've been playing a whole lot of different games.
Holy
Just
cow!
a whole lot. Yeah, a lot of different stuff. I actually had to leave some stuff off of this list to make
Really?
room. So, some of the quickies, Smash Ultimate. So continuing to dabble a little bit with that, playing more of the Sephiroths and continuing to get my butt handed to me online. So, need to you know put up my white flag and realize I'm never going to be good.
Oh
And,
boy, that,
and
that's just
going.
me to begin with.
I started to get into Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark again, uh, for because tactics RPGs should really be a thing, and this game scratches that itch. Because man, am I getting itchy for some more tactical RPG goodness, and Fell Seal will have to do.
Didn't
And
they have like
it's
a DLC recently?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a monster catching
Okay.
thing going on there. I'm not gonna get the DLC, because I don't know how far I'm gonna get along in Fell Seal. It's man, the only thing that's really holding that game back is the art. The artwork it's not bad. It's just like not good.
Yeah.
It's not bad, but it's not good. Like the art style is what's really is really what is hurting it. The lack of animations is fine. Like I can understand the lack of quality animation work, but the art style itself, it's just it's just not good. But it's also like not bad.
Right.
So it's perfectly serviceable. I had the music turned down, and then I turned it back up again, and it's actually pretty good. So the music ain't bad. I'm actually digging the music. It's a good game. I mean, it's a tactics style game. It's got a job system, so each character can be any job you want them to be. So you set them to a job. They can also equip a secondary job and use the full gamut of abilities that you've unlocked on that secondary job, as well as what you got on the primary job. And when you master a job, you get bonuses. So you're constantly want to like rotate the jobs that you get assigned on particular individuals. It's good.
And you can
It's really good, well
and
put together.
you can change jobs on the fly, right?
Yep, you can
Yeah.
change them on the fly.
Yeah.
There's there's there are requirements, but the requirements are generally like get 4 levels of this job before you can unlock this other job, right? So there's like prerequisite job levels that you have to gain in
Yeah.
order to unlock some of the more prestigious weird jobs. And they got a lot of weird jobs in there, so it's good. They balance it pretty well with, especially with things like damage types and resistances and quirky stuff like that. They kind of explain things pretty well, so it's not like overly complex either.
Right.
So it's good.
Yeah.
So play that. Then for Santa got me Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity,
Uh-huh.
and I've been playing a whole lot of that. I'm somewhere in the middle of that game, and having a good time, just killing thousands upon thousands, just truckloads of weird enemies galore. especially with the divine beasts. Those things are insane and kind of cool. They're also broken, like they're like super. They're like they're like walking monstrosity tank things that just cannot die. So you're just killing thousands and thousands of enemies uh, with like various. The bird one, I forgot what that one's called. Uh, Va Meadow, I think.
Right. Yeah.
That one is just broken. It's just you got lasers everywhere, and you're
I
just shooting things from afar.
I think of all the ones you get to navigate, that one might be the easiest to control. The other ones are kind of, I
They're
mean,
clunk.
what's that?
They're clunky.
Yeah, they're clunky. The other ones are kind of on rails. That's one you have the most freedom with, I think. But yeah,
Yeah, you get to circle a
yeah,
little bit around an area.
you're right.
Yeah. So it's real good. I do enjoy the story elements, and I was a little fearful that they were going to be stringy. Is that the word? On dishing out cutscenes, but that's not the case. They got lots of cutscenes in there.
A lot, yeah.
Uh, there's a good amount there, and there's a good amount of character interaction stuff that's going on. So I'm enjoying it as I'm going through it. I'm not getting overly tired of the monotony of the game, and the game is pretty monotonous,
Hmm.
but it's not tiresome monotony.
Yeah.
So
And you mentioned that you had an issue with frame rate, or you have a problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there is. Yeah, so I was hoping it was just with the demo when I played it earlier a few months ago. That's not the case. I mean, the game has some serious frame rate issues, and it's consistent. It's consistently low frame rate. It's not so bad. Like I grew up in the N64 days, right? So I'm used to like really bad frame rates. Like I can deal with it. I don't like it, but I can deal with it. And man, this game, it's mostly in the somewhere in the low 20s most of the time. When you clear out lots of enemies, then yeah, maybe it'll be in close to 30 frames per second, but most of the time it's in that low 20s, and it's not pleasant.
Mm,
So, and
okay.
I could just imagine if that game ran at 60 frames, it would be gorgeous. It would be like absolutely beautiful because you could tell that the animations that the characters are performing are grand. They're very grand,
Yeah.
and there's like crazy animations that are going on in combat, and you're missing like half of the quality that's there because the frame rate is so choppy.
Right. Maybe there's some room for improvement there. Who knows?
I think with the next model of Switch
Yeah.
HD, Switch Pro, whatever you want to call it, Switch HD, it'll
Super Switch.
Super Switch. Yep. Nintendo Switch new Nintendo Switch, whatever it
Well,
is.
how about we go with like the Xbox naming convention? Nintendo Series N or Switch N, like just some really arbitrary thing.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not. So playing those games, all good stuff. There's others, but I'm not going to mention them. And then
Mhm.
I finished playing Near Automata, and that's I played it on PS4. It's a weird. I didn't even realize it was a Square Enix RPG, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
a Square Enix RPG, but it's not. It was made in collaboration with Square and Platinum, and
Yep.
you can tell this is a very Platinum Games style made game
Hmm.
with assistance with Square Enix, probably in like art and music development.
Yeah.
But man, Nier Automata is really good. It is bonkers. The story is just weird. It's philosophical, very, very philosophical. I was expecting a great story, and I wasn't expecting this kind of a story. I was expecting a great story that was being told to me, but I wasn't expecting a this kind of story, which is kind of like a story where you have to think about the content that you are engaging with and the content that's being shown to you,
Hmm.
because it's thought provoking, and it's not necessarily a good story,
It's not all
It's
laid out for you.
it's more about it shows you things that are happening, and then it makes you it's kind of asking you to think about it metaphorically. It's very metaphorical. There we go. That's the word I
Okay.
was looking for. Very, very metaphorical. Because what you're smashing and killing all the time are these robots, and these robots are trying to mimic humanity in all the different ways that humanity can be mimicked. And most of the times, the robots go from 0 to 1. Right? They're either not mimicking it or they're mimicking it in all the ways, especially the imperfect ways. And that's where things go absolutely crazy with the robots, where where if, like, for example, they're mimicking humanity's need to like go to war, and they then go to war with one another. And but then they also explain it in like their they form like they form societies and civilizations
The
amongst
robots do.
themselves. The robots do, kind of mimicking like humanity. It's a very big rabbit hole to get into, and the game does a pretty good job explaining it to you. The main narrative of the game, the one that's non-metaphorical, it's fine. It's good. Definitely a good set of content there, but it's not. It I thought that was the main storyline, was where the praise is going to be, and that's not the case. The praise is in the metaphorical side of things, so you kind of have to do a little bit of exploration in the notes that you dig up, the data notes that you find here and there, in order to fully to get a full comprehension of what's going on. But man, that game is really good. And the end of it, I made a mistake and I deleted my save file.
What?
Yeah. There's this isn't a spoiler. When you get the actual true ending of the game, when you actually fully beat it, you get the option to, and this so you only have to beat the game 3 times. You're technically getting 5 of the main endings, but the last 2 endings you can get very quickly. So when you beat the game once, you beat the game a second time, you're kind of going through the first time you beaten it, but from a very different perspective, and with different gameplay mechanics. And then you beat the game a third time, but the third time it's really just taking taking over immediately after the first and second endings end. So it continues. So
Okay.
it's not all right. So in order to kind of explain it, and then at the end of that, you can replay that ending because there's choices that you make at the very end of that ending. And then when you fully explore all of those options, those choices that you make at the very end, you get the ultimate, the final ending. And at the very final ending, you can, and the game asks you, and I didn't think the game was serious. It asks you a whole bunch of times. It's like, do you want to give up your save file to save someone else? And I'm like, sure, I'll do that. It's like, are you sure you want to do this? This person is never going to know you. They're a complete stranger to you. Are you still okay with this? I'm like, yeah. Then the game's like, you do realize that all of your data is going to be deleted and it's going to be gone, and you're not going to get anything out of it. Are you sure you still want to do this? So it like asks you like 5 or 6 times, like, are you really, really sure you want to delete your save file? I'm like, yes, do it. And it actually did it. And it shows you. It just goes through all the menus, like, oh, look at all these items you collected. Gone. Look at all these little data lore entries that you discovered. Gone. Just everything. Delete. Gone.
What?
Everything. And then when you start up the game, as if it's the first time the game is actually running. Nothing is saved at all. The only thing that's saved is the trophies, and that's it.
Oh no.
That is
You
it.
you really fudged the bucket there.
Well, I definitely beat the game. I fully beat the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't fully beat it because I didn't get all the trophies and do all the 20, I think 6 different endings that game has.
That's crazy.
Most of the endings are like junk endings. They're not like real endings.
Yeah.
They're like jokey endings kind of thing.
That's
Um,
that's crazy.
so, yeah. So that was overall though. That is a better RPG from Square Enix than Final Fantasy VII Remake. I will
Oh,
say that
hot take.
by a lot. By a
Hot
lot.
hot take. I
It's
don't think
it's actually really good.
I
It's such
honestly
a
don't
weird,
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's, you're probably right there.
it's such a weird RPG game too. It's an open world action JRPG, but it's also a bullet hell shooter.
Yeah.
And they're like combined. The gameplay of the two, there's some parts of the game where it's mostly just action. There's some parts of the game where it's pretty much you're playing a shooter, and then there's some parts of the game where it's both action and shooter. Third person action bullet hell shooter stuff, and it's just crazy. It's real cool.
And
Really cool game.
this is getting a sequel like coming up soon, right? I
Well,
think.
Near Automata is kind of like a weird sequel to Near Replicant.
Okay.
So it is part of like this franchise that has a connected story in some way. I haven't played any other game in the franchise, so I've only played Near Automata. Really good stuff. Highly recommend it. And the other game I also finished is Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown. Yeah. This is a weird one because it's a jet fighter. It's basically Top Gun, the video game.
Right.
It came out 2019, last
Yep.
year, and this was the last time that they made a new official Ace Combat game was like 12 years before that.
Right.
So it's been a while, and man, did they come back real strong. Now, I've always been like a fan of like jet fighters in games and of like mech games because they're kind of like similar, right? You're firing rockets and shooting
Sure.
machine guns at stuff in piloting some sort of fast moving vehicle of sorts. Ace Combat 7, it's real good. It's real good. Really enjoy it. It's got an actually a really good story to it. Uh, it's 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 kind of bonkers and a little bit over the top at moments, and it's got like the just the right amount of cheesy '80s rock kind of like Top Gun style soundtrack music to it.
Ah, of
It's like
course.
it's like perfectly Top Gun in all the right ways that you want it to be. Like you are the hotshot pilot. You are you are the one that everyone's like, "Oh, this guy, he's so good." It's just it's just great. And then you're locking on to enemies and you're doing like big giant Edelman turns and pushing it to the limit and and sort of like doing a dive bomb against ground targets and you're doing dog fights galore and it's just real good. And you got your wingmen, and then your wingmen get picked off, and they're screaming at you. The comms, there's always like communication going on the comm, so it's very chatty as
Yep.
you're like firing rockets, and every time you like kill an enemy, like your wingmen are like praising you, and they're like, "Yeah, that's Trigger. He's awesome."
That's your
Yeah,
name, Trigger?
your character's name is Trigger, and
That's that's
sometimes
perfect.
when you die, some one of your wingmen is like, "Oh man, Trigger really screwed the pooch." I'm like, "What?"
Oh man.
So it's just a great, fantastic game. I picked that game up for like $12. What a steal that is. That is real good. A cool thing that the game has, it has like this kind of like a skill tree, but it's with jet fighters, and
Okay.
with parts. So you can buy different jet fighters and they have different stats to them. And then you can also buy different specialty weapons for them and different parts that you can socket into your jet fighters to enhance them. So you can kind of like enhance your jet fighters in certain ways. Like, oh, I'm doing a mission where there isn't going to be much air to air combat. So I should give myself some bombs, some cluster bombs, and I should give myself higher durability and maybe some like stealth parts so I can avoid radar detection a little bit longer. So it's got like cool metagame stuff like that too. It was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Really, really good, and just weird and over the top. So that's what I've been playing. What have you been playing?
Wow, way to finish that off. I've actually been on vacation this entire week, so been spending a lot of time with family. Haven't really been playing too much games, but I've been trying to. So I'm still playing Dark Souls and Cyberpunk 2077. But I also picked up a game that you and I are reviewing. You've already played it, so you got a head start on me. Last week we reviewed Morbid the Seven Acolytes. So this week or this time around, we're reviewing Astral Chain. So
Yeah,
yeah, so I've started that. I haven't really gotten too much time in, maybe like a couple 2-3 hours into it. So I'm not too far into it, but man, that game just looks stunning.
yeah,
The voice acting is okay. The action is all out all the time. But yeah, visually it's like eye candy. It really
yeah.
is. It really is good.
And that opening sequence, the first one or two missions is very action packed,
Hmm.
and then after that, things sort of calm down for a bit,
Yeah,
and that's when the game really starts to immerse you into the world, and where you're like doing slower paced missions, you're walking the beat, talking to different citizens and stuff like that, picking up trash off of the streets.
petting cats.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not quite into that where it like slows down. It's been all action so far. So yeah, that is going to be the game where we're reviewing. That's just kind of a little snippet into what I'm thinking about it so far. But yeah, like I said, I haven't really been playing too many games, and you may even notice it on the YouTube channel. I have done very little Let's Plays. Just haven't had any time. Just kind of doing family stuff. So that is what I've been playing and what we're reviewing. So let's get into some of the news. But before that, don't forget to visit our Discord, discord.switchrpg.com, our socials, SwitchRPG on Twitch. And you can pretty much find everything there. YouTube, it's SwitchRPG as well. So yeah, new game announcements. We have Werewolf: The Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest, launching in about a week or so. This is a visual novel esque RPG. Um, where you I don't know if you are the werewolf, but let's just read the description here. This is from rpgsite.net. Heart of the Forest is a narrative adventure game with RPG elements based in the World of Darkness universe, which I'm not very familiar with. I think that's a tabletop game. Um but yeah, you are put into the shoes of a girl named Maya who travels to Poland to learn about the history of her family. And again, for more information, you can check out the review. Apparently, it's already been out on PC, so you can check out the review on rpgsite.net. So this is coming out January 7th. There is a demo on the eShop, which is available right now, and the game is already priced at $14.99. Any thoughts, Johnny?
It's a visual novel. They're typically not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't. I mean, it looks like it's got a decent enough presentation to it. So
Right. Next we have, oh, it looks like we have something in the wrong area. Anyway, Heaven's Vault is arriving on Nintendo Switch in late January. Heaven's Vault is a developed by developer Inkle has announced their award-winning adventure game. Heaven's Vault is coming to the Nintendo Switch January 28th, 2021. The Nintendo Switch version will sport optimized controls for the system, providing both Joy-Con and touchscreen options for players, as well as retailing for $17.99 on the eShop. Doesn't look like there's a demo for this one available, but if you want to check out the trailer, it is on the YouTube space. So Heaven's Vault. I did watch the trailer for this earlier, and essentially you're almost like a person trying to almost you're writing history as the game progresses, and it's really interesting in the way it does it. So there's this woman. who transcribes language. And let's see if I can find a description here. Heaven's Vault focuses on protagonist Aaliyah and her robot sidekick Six as they sail across the starry expanse of nebula from moon to moon, setting their minds to uncovering the ancient history of the places and cultures that came before via the translation of inscriptions. The title sports high levels of replay value centered on the idea of linguistics, where the translation of a unique and complex language built into the game brings different branches of overarching storyline to the forefront for both the player and Layla to experience together. So I think it's just a different gameplay mechanic that I haven't seen anywhere really. So and it's got an interesting art style.
Yeah, it looks. I don't know if it qualifies as a RPG. It's certainly an adventure game.
Yeah.
It's it's certainly an exploration and adventure style game. It's got the puzzle elements that you're doing with the language transcribey type stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and visually, the environments are in sort of like a stylistic 3D, like I would say, kind of not cell shaded, but towards that direction.
Yeah.
But the character, it looks like it's like a hand drawn sprite that is animated as you move along. So it and that looks cool too. And the two of them together as you're exploring around, it's actually a pretty good looking game. Um, and I think it's all the characters because there's a shot here with like pigs
Mhm.
sort of walking around and whatnot, and they're also 2D sprites. So it looks visually it looks good.
Yeah, and it's won all sorts of awards and whatnot. But yeah, that is Heaven's Vault coming late January. And that is it for new games. Let's check out what's coming up for the next week or so. Generally, it's been a rough year, guys. It's been a really rough year
Yeah.
for RPGs, and hopefully it's getting better. Hopefully, there's been lots of delays, and things are starting to catch up. So let's see here. We have actually we talked about this game last week. This came
Yeah,
out this go ahead.
you're talking about the Dungeon Limbus.
Yeah. So that's come out. I may actually take a peek at that one. I don't know. Dungeon Limits it's a tactics type of game, roguelike tactics game, so I don't know.
I wouldn't say it's tactics. It looks just straight up
Roguelike.
roguelite.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if it's turn based, then I guess that would add some degree of tactics stuff to it. But it says action, so
Yeah.
I'm guessing it ain't turn based.
Yeah, it's not turn-based. And that's that's it. We have the Werewolf the Apocalypse game that we mentioned coming out in the 7th, and then we have another looks like another visual novel called Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story. Take a
Uh,
quick peek here.
and
Yeah.
to, and to let people know what's on deck for something a Meteor RPG isn't until the end of January with Atelier Ryza 2. So
Yeah.
we kind of still have to wait a bit. Uh, one more month, and then we'll finally have something meaty to chew on to. And then
Yeah.
after that, we're actually gonna get a couple of servings of some delectable treats. I mean, we got what was it, Persona 5 Strikers? One
Yep.
month later, less than a month later, Bravely Default 2, also in February, the end of February, and Story of Seasons. So the new Harvest Moon game,
Mhm.
that comes out in March. So that there's four, just between those four, those are four very substantial games.
They are. And and we need them.
Yeah.
We definitely need them. Yeah, there's been just so many delays that eventually they'll all catch up and we'll start getting them, and it looks like we're seeing that. Although Atelier Ryza, I don't think that was ever delayed. I mean it's still in the same engine. They've just added a little bit of different mechanics to the game, But other than that, it's essentially the same type of game. Where maybe Ryza eventually leaves the town that she resides in, and she does a little more exploring.
Oh, she's in the city, right? It's like
They,
a completely new environment that
they,
she's in.
yeah, there you go. Um, so yeah, after the 7th of January, the list I have here jumps right to Atelier Ryza at the end of January. So, uh, time to catch up on your backlog. That's basically it.
Yeah.
It's backlog time. All right, so let's hit a couple of news bits here. Fantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis opening movie. Latest details and gameplay. This is on Jamatsu. There was over 50 minutes of new footage, mostly character creation, but really what piqued my interest was the opening movie. We actually got a look at in-game engine type of stuff in that trailer. But there's a lot. It's almost like I said, it's almost an hour of stuff. It is in Japanese, uh, but again, you get a decent look at what the game is going to be when it comes to the Switch via the cloud. That's how we'll be getting it, hopefully.
It's
Yeah,
cloud stream only.
yeah, yeah.
Is
This will
it
be.
is it coming to the states or is it Japan only right now?
I was under the understanding that this was coming to the States. I mean, I'd have to verify that, but I'm pretty certain that it was coming to the States. Are you diving into that?
Well, I've always been interested in getting into the Fantasy Star
Hmm.
series, and Fantasy Star Online was hailed a lot. I think that was a Dreamcast uh,
Yeah, it's a Sega.
title.
It's a Sega product. Yeah.
Yeah, and it did come to GameCube, I believe, um, in some degree. I'm almost certain on that.
Yeah.
Almost certain, and
I'm
I
not
think I did try it,
on the
or
game
maybe it
on
was
the
the Wii.
GameCube.
On the GameCube or the Wii. It actually did. I don't know if it was Fantasy. Yeah, I think it was Fantasy Star Online. They brought it over to either the GameCube, like very, very late in the GameCube's life, or to the Wii. And I did try it out for a little bit, and then that
Okay.
was kind of it. I didn't really get too far with it, and it wasn't very MMO ish, or at least my experience with it didn't feel very MMO. It felt more like a console game that was online and multiplayer with other people, but it felt more like a console gaming experience, not like an MMO experience like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 11, 14, whatever.
All right. Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to find out if it's come to the Switch in North America, and I'm having trouble finding it. So maybe it is only going to be in Japan. That can't be right. Anyway,
I will
I
say this: it's a good looking game.
it is a good looking game, and I don't understand why it wouldn't be. I mean, it's coming to Xbox, coming to PlayStation, in the States. I don't understand why it wouldn't come here via streaming.
Oh wow, you can hop on top of the enemy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, it is a good looking game too. Anyway, moving along. Xseed Games celebrates a successful 2020 and a promising 2021 in a new trailer. This is on RPGFan.com. 2020 definitely wasn't everyone's year, but it's been a great one for Xseed Games. From exciting titles like Story of Seasons, Friends of Middletown, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. Xseed Games has demolished their highest sales record. In celebration of this monumentous occasion, Xseed Games posted a trailer chronicling the games they released throughout 2020. So again, they kind of recap all the games, but at the end, I think it's at the end, they go over what's coming, and they have a few games, along with Story of Seasons Pioneers of Olive Town and Rune Factory 5. The company has several other titles up their sleeves for the coming year with I've never heard of this game before. Akiba's Trip, Hellbound, and Debriefed. I don't even know what that game is about. And then Potion Omics. Potion Omics does look a little interesting actually. Potionomics looks like it's like you run a potion shop. That's what it looks like. I don't know if you can see it on your end.
Nah, is it in the trailer?
It is not in the trailer. If you look in the article that I linked, it's basically at the bottom. You can click on it.
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't see it.
Hmm.
Oh, there it is. Now I see it.
Now you see it. So yeah, I mean there are there are trailers for Potionomics, and I think there are trailers now that I'm looking. It was an E3 2019 for Akiba's trip, Hellbound and Debriefed. I don't know if this is going to be the game for me, but it is coming. It is coming soon. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't.
Hopefully.
I think we did see the potion one,
Did
because
we?
I could have. It looks somewhat familiar. Just from the screenshots I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Um, it seems like I've seen somewhere before, maybe in like a direct, as like a quick one-off or something like that.
I
But
It doesn't sound familiar to me.
yeah, I'm not too certain on those two games. But at the very least, Xseed, they have lots of gems, and they deliver. So they did what, 11 this year.
Yeah.
They're gonna do probably roughly the same amount, maybe more, maybe less for next year, and that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, they've had quite a number of them. Do you have the list there? Yeah, right here. Wizardry, Labyrinth of Lost Souls, Daemon X Machina. That wasn't 2020, was it?
No, it wasn't. That
Oh,
was
that's when they
2019.
yeah, that's when didn't they port it over to PC or something?
They did, yeah.
I think that's what that was. So Room Factory 4, Grand Blue Fantasy, Yeast Memories of Salsetta. I think I'm saying that right. Story of Seasons, Friends of Middletown, Kandagawa Jet Girls, Uppers, No More Heroes 2, and Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. So yeah, they've had a decent year. But the other games, I mean, Potionomics looks interesting. Akiba's Trip, Hellbound, and Debrief looks absolutely not my thing. I don't know if you looked up the the trailer for it. It just looks like a very old game. It doesn't look new at all to me. It looks really bad. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
um, no, I didn't even know you snuck a news article on me.
I did. I put one in the rundown.
All right, then you do it. I'm not doing it.
All right, Bloodstain Ritual of the Night is going to receive yet more free DLC called Classic Mode, and that's coming up real soon. It's going to launch sometime in January. So let's see here. This is from my Nintendo News. A game that's had a lot of support from its developers from launch is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is available on Nintendo Switch and other platforms. It's considered as a spiritual successor to the popular Castlevania franchise, and I can testify to that. Absolutely, it is a spiritual successor to everything that you loved from Castlevania.
Mm.
Anyway, uh, in January, fans of the title will be able to enjoy a free update that brings a classic mode to the second installment of the Bloodstained series. What? Second installment?
Blood.
Classic mode to the second installment.
Yeah, there was
Bloodstained.
what was the first Bloodstained?
Well, that was the NES game. So Bloodstained Ritual of Night is the second installment
Yeah,
because they also released Bloodstained. What was it?
Curse of the
Curse of the
Moon.
Moon 2.
Oh, yeah, but
So
all right.
that's the third installment, even though it has the number 2 on it.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
their third installment, maybe. I don't know.
I guess it's a franchise now. Apparently, they got 3 under their belt. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, according to a tweet from the game's Twitter account a few days back, Classic Mode is aiming to revive old school gameplay, and it will bring 5 levels to battle your way through, and some bosses will be waiting to be defeated too. So if you're looking for a little throwback for the good old days, or if you're just wanting an excuse to dive back into it, this free new patch should help liven things up a little.
Wow.
So what it looks like they are giving you, so they have the health bar and the sub weapon, the score, the timer, and the boss health bar, all the same style as Castlevania one, two. Well, not two, but one and three. So in that same old school design,
Mm-hmm.
and you're playing as Miriam in the bloodstained sort of visual style. So it's not like 8-bit style graphics or anything like that. It's running on bloodstain, but the way you're traversing the castle also looks like the the way that the Belmonts would traverse, which is when you jump, you can't change your momentum midway through your jump, so
Right.
you're kind of locked into your trajectory. It looks like Miram is going to do the same thing. Also, it's got some sub weapons are coming out from candles in here, similar to the original Castlevania. So it pretty much looks like Castlevania, like gameplay of Castlevania 1, 3, 4, and 5,
Right.
but using the Bloodstain uh, engine. So that's pretty cool.
It is
I like
cool.
that.
Even like the stair traversal, it's got the like that sort of thing, like if when you're going up and down levels and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and it has that old school bar or set like their cells basically, right?
Yep. Yep.
Nice. That's like the gift that keeps on giving, I guess.
Yeah.
Bloodstains.
It's free, and this would be like a full game.
They, they could easily
This-
charge for DLC, honestly.
yeah. Yeah. So kudos to them for making this free. I mean, the original game itself was what, $40 when it released.
Yeah, I
So
don't think it's no, I don't think it's
it was either
that
30 or 40,
right.
but it was definitely worth it, that amount that they asked for. And now with all this extra stuff that they've been thrown in there,
Mm,
all this extra free stuff at that, like, yeah, it's the game is phenomenal, and it's more than worth the 40, 30 or $40 that they originally asked for.
right. Right. I totally agree. All right, cool. That's it for news. We do have some rumor land type of stuff. Square Enix developers have teased their plans for 2021. This is an article. We're getting it via My Nintendo News, but I think this was on Famitsu.
Yep.
Uh, a number of Square Enix employees have chatted to Famitsu about their plans for 2021. Tomoya Asano and Masashi Takahashi, who are producers behind the February's Bravely Default 2 for Nintendo Switch, hope that the game will achieve its sales target and they can make a third. Oh, so they're already planning for another one if it does well. Noriyoshi Fujimoto, series producer for the Dragon Quest franchise, plans to announce something for the long-running series' 35th anniversary. So we have the Bravely Default 2 producer mentioning that he's hoping to even already create a third one, which is great. And then you have the Dragon Quest producer saying that he's hoping to announce something for the 35th anniversary next year. So there's going to be a lot of anniversaries for next year. You have Zelda, you have Dragon Quest. I believe there are others in there as
Detroit.
well. Metroid, there you go. So there may be a lot of stuff happening just because of these anniversaries. And also, I don't want to forget that producer Masashi Takahashi, who also worked on Octopath Traveler, also added that there has been progress made in parallel in on other games. So Square Enix definitely has a lot of other things. I mean, that goes without saying. But I think 2021 is going to be a much much better year than 2020 has been on many different levels. So
Yeah, I'm still worried that 2020 has slowed down games that would have released, that were planned for 2021, and now has pushed those games over to 2022. That's
yeah,
what I'm worried about.
yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Whereas had the game been released, they'd already be working on the project. But yeah, everything is just kind of shifted over 9 to 12 months easily. So yeah, we got some stuff happening in 2020. I'm really optimistic for this year because this obviously, like I mentioned, this year has just been pretty bad on many
Well,
different levels.
35th anniversary for a whole lot of stuff, right? As you said, Zelda and Metroid. And we've known about Zelda and Metroid games in development for multiple years now.
Yeah.
So this could be potentially a huge, massive year that Nintendo hasn't been able to land IP wise since the original year, launch year of the Switch, where it had both Mario and Zelda in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, 2021 could be Metroid Prime 4 and Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah. I think we'll definitely see Breath of the Wild 2 for Zelda. I'm just not sure what else we'll see from Zelda. I mean, is it a possibility we get some HD ports, like Wind Waker or Skyward Sword or, something
I
like
don't
that?
I don't think so. I think they've delivered enough already in Zelda content, right? Because we did get that remake of Link's Awakening.
Yep.
We've gotten Hyrule Warriors this year. We've gotten Cadence of Hyrule, which was last year. Uh, in addition to the other game that we got last year. I don't know. I just if we get Breath of the Wild this year, I don't think they need to release any other Zelda game for this year.
Right. You're talking
I,
2021, right?
for 2021, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just don't. I just think that alone is more than enough to celebrate Zelda. I think if they do anything else, maybe it would be some sort of maybe Zelda 1, 2, 3 kind of collaboration thing, or
Yeah.
maybe some of the off Zeldas, the weird ones that are still great, like the Game Boy Color ones, the Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons.
Seasons. Right. No, I mean, just having Breath of the Wild 2 is not enough for a 35th anniversary. That's not You're not doing anything special. Like for example, what they did with Mario. They had a whole bunch. It was like an event. Just
Right.
having Breath of the Wild 2
Well,
coming out is not
I think
enough.
well, I think what they would do is with Breath of the Wild 2, they would just do a 35th year anniversary collector's edition of Breath of the Wild 2. So they have Breath of the Wild 2, and then in that box, that big giant juggernaut of a box, it's going to have the celebration of of 35 years of Zelda in some form
Yeah.
with a whole bunch of other stuff that comes packed alongside it.
I'll have to make room for that box.
Oh, I'll definitely get that special edition. I mean, I was very happy with the Breath of the Wild
Yeah.
special edition. So if they come up with something that is similar to what they did on that, especially if it's celebrating 35 years of Zelda, I'm down. I'm
Yeah.
totally down.
Well,
And
at
art
least at
would be
least
great.
Zelda, you're right, an art book would be nice. But at least Zelda has something, right? That's coming out almost concrete, right? Like we know Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. Metroid Prime 4, we really I
That one
mean,
I'm not sure of,
yeah,
but there is definitely stuff coming out for Metroid this year. That I am 100% certain on. We're definitely going to get, at the very least, a Metroid Prime trilogy.
kind of HD remaster type
An
things.
HD remaster, remake, whatever it is, or just a straight port, which I'm perfectly fine with that. I already got it. I'll buy it again. That's fine by me. But if
Right.
they do any kind of HD stuff to it, oh, sign me up. Like I'll buy 2 copies. Yep, I'm totally down for that.
Mm,
And I think there's because there is 2 big Metroid games that are in development, not counting the trilogy. So there's Metroid Prime 4, but there was that other Metroid game that has
right.
been in development that I mentioned, being made by Mercury Steam, the people who did Return of Samus or Samus Returns.
Right.
I they've been very hush hush. I'm very, very certain that they are working on another Metroid game.
I hope so.
A
I
3D visual, but 2D side scroll gameplay.
kind of like like what they've done.
Like what they've done. Yeah, taking
Yeah.
that, what they've done there, and just making it better for the Switch.
Sure. That would be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah, it
We
would be very
will
nice.
see. Now with Dragon Quest though, like all the other games are on here, right? What else are we gonna get? We got Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3. Like I think they're made available. We have Dragon Quest 11. Are we gonna get some of the older ones? Is that what they're talking about? I don't
Uh,
know.
Maybe. I mean, 8 is a big one.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah, 8 is
yeah.
a big one. I don't
So
know.
maybe it's that. Maybe it's 8. I
Well,
doubt it's going to be a brand new Dragon Quest. I don't see that happening.
it could be a teaser. Could be a
Teaser. Yeah, could be.
could be a teaser, along with other stuff. All right, let's get on with our main topic here. Our Switch RPG podcast game of the year. There are a lot of RPGs that came out, and I'll go through a substantial list here, but you and I have you swayed me into, okay, the
Well, I wouldn't say swayed.
no, you
If
yelled at me,
someone
you badgered me, you made fun of me, you called me a lot of names,
I did.
and
He's right. I apologize.
no, and we reached a consensus here. I think I mean it's a fantastic game. So anyway, let's go through some of the RPGs that came out throughout the year. Should you not remember them all? All right, I'll hit a few and then you can hit a few. I'm gonna start from the bottom of the list. We have Darksiders Genesis, Sheeran the Wanderer, Langrisser 1 and 2, Monster Sanctuary, Brigandine The Legend of Runertia, Immortals Phoenix Rising, XCOM 2 Collection. Want you hit me up with a few.
Sure. Here's a weird blast from the past. Moon Remix RPG Adventure. Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. Always Legacy. Indivisible. Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. Nowhere Prophet, which I've played Nowhere Prophet on PC. It's a
Hmm.
weird roguelike card game type of thing.
I'd not
Uh,
even heard of that one.
it's actually it was pretty good. Rune Factory 4 special. A game that you played. Go ahead.
Yeah. We have Operentia, The Stolen Sun, Minecraft Dungeons, Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore, Yeast Origin, Crosscode, Code Realize Guardian of Rebirth, Trials of Mana, Legend of Hero, Trails of the Cold Steel. I took that one because you can't get the name of that name right ever. Ninth Dawn 3, Thronebreaker, The Witcher Tales. Why don't you take the last few?
Bug Fables, The Everlasting Sapling, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Paper Mario Origami King, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and last but certainly not least, Hades.
And we left
And
that one last, right?
yes, of course we did.
And we left that one last because it is our Switch RPG game of the year. Hades was man, that game was really fun. It's a roguelite action RPG, I guess you could call it.
Yep.
The voice acting is fun, is really good. The music, I absolutely love the music. I love
Voice acting is incredible.
yeah.
Yep.
The the music is really good. I love the
Yep.
music in it. And it's pretty deep, I think. Um in
Oh, it's
terms
very deep.
yeah,
Yeah,
in
the
terms of what you
story.
can do.
Yeah, the story. So you're talking about gameplay depth?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's very diverse too. There's how many weapons are there? 5 weapons,
5 or 6.
5 or 6, and all of them are very different from one another. And you gotta you it the game actually does a very good job in motivating you to play all of these other different weapons in ways that yeah kind of didn't I didn't really care about. There was a few of them, like I think it was like the shield I didn't really care for that
Right.
much at first, or the fist weapon I wasn't that much of a fan of. But after I start to use it, I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. I can become competent with these weapons as well as the other weapons that I was already liking.
Right.
Spear, by the way, is probably the most overpowered one. Just my opinion. That spear was ridiculous.
I pretty much stood with the first weapon,
The sword,
the sword. Yeah,
the spear was really good. I was the sword's all right. The spear and the bow were my go tos, and then eventually the what is it? The shield. I actually got really good with the shield and the fist weapon. Got real
really.
good with yeah, those four. The two that I didn't really care to use all that much, although I was perfectly fine with the sword. The one I definitely used the least was the gun, the rifle gun thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one was weird. So it is six, and
yeah.
each of them just very different stuff. Changes up your play style, and then as you're playing through a run, you're getting all these different boons and perks that are going to very much change your play style every single run. So not only is every time you're going through another run is very different, which breaks up the monotony. Just that alone breaks up the monotony. But every time you're going through, you're getting new story,
Right,
brand new story, new
right.
dialogue from whatever characters that you are encountering. There's no repetition in what they say to you at all. I played that game for over 40 hours, and not a single line of dialogue was ever spoken. All of it's voice acted, by the way, and not a single line of voice acting was repeated. It
And
was incredible.
it's crazy because I was at a point where I'm like at some point they're gonna get to a point where you have to progress the story, and it's just like constant. Like there's always something happening. There's always that again that new line of dialogue. I'm like they're gonna repeat at some point, and it just never happened,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
just never happened.
and then you get to the end of the of what you think the end of the game is, or what would have been, and then you find out that's actually only the halfway point, and there's still more story and still more progressive story where just by getting to that endpoint doesn't solve the underlying issues that are happening between these different characters and gods.
Hmm.
uh, and you have to continue with it, and that right there is a nice metaphor for relationships and how you got to work at it if you want to have a good long lasting relationship. Yeah, you have to be persistent and work at it and try to understand and communicate with one another. And that's pretty much like a metaphor for what the game's overall story is right there. But you actually have to like do it, and
Right.
you have to do it multiple times, and you have to keep doing it, and you get more every single time you're doing it. You're just getting more from the story, more from all the characters they're learned from, and oh man, it's touching too.
Yeah.
That the 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 game has some I my eyes watered just a little bit uh, when I got to certain points in that game, because oh man, was it touching, very very touching. And then when you actually beat it, when the credits actually roll, you can still play it, continue playing it, and you'll still get more new story stuff. It's insane.
I didn't get as far as you did, but I had a tremendous time with it. Like I had mentioned, the art style's beautiful. Um, and there's just so much like RPG in it, right? Like they have these things called keepsakes, and basically you what is it? Like you do so many things in runs, like in your collective runs, you get certain boons for your entire playthrough. That sticks with your character. And then they have what is in that mirror? Are those like what is that called?
I
The mirror.
I forgot what it's called, but it's pretty much your spec that you're
Yeah.
dumping your whatever your purple gem skill points into, and you're sort of fine tuning your spec by changing how you're dumping points into it, and buying whatever the passive skills that is going to kind of augment your underlying play style
Hmm.
and give you. I mean, when you read it, it's pretty straightforward. When you play through it, it tells you what it get 5% chance to crit every time you level up this passive skill thing, right? And you
Right.
kind of understand the significance of that as you continue to play.
Right. It's called the Mirror of Night, is
There
what
you
it's called. And lo and behold, there were actually two sides to that coin, right? Like, because
go.
I had no idea that there was a toggleable almost button on the left side of these individual things where you can get kind of a whole different kind of progression or like a different boon or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Um,
one was like shadow, and the other one was like corrosion or something like that.
yeah, but
I
it was like I was totally unaware of it, and I'm like, oh, geez, there's so much other stuff. It's like playing it all over again, you know?
and that's just the stuff that you kind of spec your character out with
Hmm.
before you depart.
Right.
And when you depart and you go on the run, you're getting very different. You're getting this whole gamut of perks called boons that are going to significantly change your play.
Right.
And so like before you go out on that run, you're choosing your weapon, you're going up to your mirror, dumping in your earned experience. You're also you have that chest case thing with the keepsakes that you mentioned.
Hmm.
That also has a that can also have an influence on your run that you're playing through. So all of those things happen beforehand, and then during your run, you're earning a whole bunch of other things that are going to further augment. And then also, as you're going through, the way the game progresses is you're going room by room. And at the end of every room, you're typically given multiple choices as to the next room, what the reward is going to be for the next room. And so not only do you have like the opportunity to sort of choose your boon when it pops up, right? When you finish a room and you get a boon from a god, you can have a choice of three different options. You get to pick there, and then when you choose your next room that you're going to enter, the next chamber, you get to choose like what the buff, what the perk, what was it, the reward for
Right.
that room is going to be. And there's a whole lot more to it, and it's consistently rewarding because each room can be as quick as like 30 seconds. It could be like a minute or two. It's like very, very quick little bite sizes of very fast, high intensity action combat that's going on. That gets resolved. You get a reward guaranteed every room. There might be some other additional hidden rewards, so you're just constantly getting showered with more and more little nuggets of treasures throughout the entire game. And then if you fail a run or if you pass a run, you go all the way back to the beginning, and all the a whole slew of stuff rewards that you've collected throughout your run, you get to actually cash in on it. So when you go back to the beginning again, it's not like you're not feeling like, oh bummer, like I have to start from the beginning again, because you're at the beginning again and you're able to like invest in various things to make your next run all the more pleasant,
Hmm.
or story stuff.
It is one of the few games that has come out very recently that there are no bugs.
Yeah,
There are very little issues with this game. The
very
the combat is tight, is really good. Like like we've mentioned other games where hitboxes are can be a problem. I will say that there are no real big problems with this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there is none.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. It's such a well polished. It is a narrow in scope kind of game, but it's also very grand, right? This is still an indie studio that made this game,
Hmm.
but they nailed it. They like absolutely nailed exactly what they wanted to set out and do. They nailed it to the fullest degree, and everything that they had put forth, and aimed for, they landed. Right?
Yeah.
They didn't aim for things and only half execute. Everything that they executed in the game, whether it be the narrative, the visual art design, the combat system, the roguelike elements to it, everything that they put in there, they executed 100%.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. So that is our RPG game of the year, but we couldn't just leave you with that. We have to give you some dishonorable mentions. And this is true to Johnny's form. So, Johnny, what are some of your dishonorable mentions?
Well, so we so I'm also saying this because we said Switch RPG of the year was Hades,
Yeah,
and I also commented like it's also my game of the year, just across everything.
right.
And then I'm like, all right, I have to give context to that, and that's where I came up with the. At first, I was going to call it honorable mentions, but the two games that I'm going to mention, they're not honorable. It's Final Fantasy VII Remake and Cyberpunk 2077. So we've both played Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I played and beat Final Fantasy VII Remake, and like if these games were being looked forward to a lot,
Oh,
lots of
yeah.
hype on both of them, and they both failed spectacularly on living up to the hype.
In
And
different ways, too.
in
They
very
failed in
different
different
ways.
ways.
Very different ways, and they both failed. So they're getting the dishonorable mention for that reason. And both of them failed, as you said, in different ways. And it's just uh, so it's to give context. Like, yes, we've played the big giant RPGs. We've played them all for this year, all the big ones. We got them covered. Hades wins.
Yeah, I agree. Hades wins, hands down. Um, Again, one more thing. We couldn't just leave you with that.
Yeah.
We have some Switch RPG podcast New Year's resolutions. Why don't you hit me with yours first?
Sure. So, my New Year's resolution is to make sure I go out monster hunting with Geo. We're gonna play Monster Hunter Rise. We're gonna play that together. I'm gonna show Geo the ropes. We're gonna go monster hunting. I have no clue what weapon Geo's gonna use. I'm very excited for him to sort of gravitate. I'm gonna try to get him to use all the different weapons at first, see which one he likes the most, and have him go at it,
Okay.
right? And I'm excited to see which one you choose as like your bona fide singular weapon.
I
It's
can't wait to go on some of these adventures.
it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good. You're gonna die to like great jaggies, and I'm gonna laugh at you. But then we'll start dying together against like I don't know, big giant Rathalos and stuff like that, and it'll be great.
Yeah, you're like talking a whole different language right now.
That's awesome. So that's my New Year's resolution. There's like a little side resolution thing of attempting to do more Twitch streaming, but that'll be a side thing.
Yeah,
Hopefully that gets done.
yeah, we'll take care of that Twitch streaming for you. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to monster hunting with you. Hopefully like the Nintendo Online isn't hot garbage and it can handle handle this all.
Oh, it definitely can. I mean, Monster Hunter. I was doing online Monster Hunter on the Wii, so
Okay. And it was
if it can
pretty
work on the
serviceable?
Wii, it was perfectly fine. I was playing that on the Wii all the time with my brother, Monster Hunter together, and then Try Ultimate on the Wii U. Played a
Okay.
whole lot of that online.
All right. Then I'm hopeful. I am very hopeful. Very much looking forward to it. My New Year's resolution is to have more interviews on the podcast. At one point, we did have some interviews, some guests, things of that nature. But I'm hoping to have more interviews, maybe possibly with some developers, publishers, maybe some PR people. So yeah, just kind of different stuff. And so yeah, I'm really excited. I'm gonna start maybe hopefully reaching out to some folks out there. Maybe I can get some people. Try to do it maybe once a month. I don't want to like do too much, but maybe once a month having kind of like a special episode or a special interview or something of that nature. That's definitely something I want to try and do. But yeah, that's going to conclude our episode for the Switch RPG podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to send in any questions or comments that you might have to the show at podcast@switchrpg.com. You were just distracting me. You can listen to the show each and every week at switchrpg.com, or you can subscribe on your favorite podcast app. If you listen on an app, please give us a rating and review. We want to climb up those charts on the platform, so your support there would be amazing. And finally, remember, you can head over to switchrpg.com for all your RPG needs on the Nintendo Switch. Until next time, we'll see you in 2021. Goodbye.